Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. I hope that everybody is off to a good start today. I'm doing something a little different. The issues that I'm going to talk about today are things I normally address on my YouTube channel that is primarily focused on the work I do in the Black community and inner city communities, the work that Marion and I do in inner city communities. However, every now and then there's a need for me to cross over on platforms. Normally, I do the things that I focus on here on Facebook are normally with TVI, the Visionetics Institute, where I work with people to help them enhance their performance in life in whatever areas they need to be stronger in. And that's kind of how I try to balance it. But sometimes I need to come to a place where I know a lot of people are literally dealing with what I'm talking about. And then this video will make it to the YouTube platform within an hour of it being posted here. But I just wanted to really do this here. And those of you here who don't follow me on other platforms, you know the business side of me, the person who owns multiple businesses, who helps people start businesses, who helps people enhance their performance in life, those things, the inspirational, motivational, or whatever it is that I'm being tagged at. I try not to get caught up in that. I try to do what I'm passionate about. You can call it what you want. It's not that big to me. Those who know me also know that while I do uh, tag my credentials to my name, it's not something that I push big in person. I don't insist anyone call me doctor. I don't insist anyone recognize, Rick, sir, Mr. all work the same for me. Respect is what I look for, and it doesn't come because of credentials. It comes because of my commitment and my passion to the things I do, the commitment to excellence, the commitment to making people better, and that's it. But I earned the credentials. I've put in the work, so I do tag them with it. And plus, there are just certain places you need that to get into places. You know what I mean? But here's what I want to talk to you about. What a lot of you may not know is for years, even decades, I've been working in the Black community in a number of different ways. My goal has always been to understand the plight of my people for the purpose of creating solutions. I am not one that has been interested in learning all of the history and learning all of the issues and the enigmas that we face for the sake of traveling around and lecturing on it and making money. My goal has been to learn these things for the sake of understanding the cause to create a solution. So everything that I do is for understanding in order to create a solution. If we're not talking about solutions, I really don't want to talk about it. Not that I don't speak, but there's not a lot of progression in speeches alone. Speeches get people motivated. Speeches will get people drawn in. Speeches will give you a chance to showcase your knowledge and your skill sets. But what we are going to have to do is find a way to activate and mobilize the Black collective to take the necessary actions. So that's been my focus. That's been where my research is always pointing to. And I want to talk to you about a unique and specific element and component that is a part of the enigmatic issues that we actually experience on such a prevalent level that we consider it a part of our culture. And one of those elephants in the room, as I often refer to it, is sexual violence, childhood sexual abuse primarily, but also domestic sexual abuse in the home from an intimate partner. And let me say this before I get started. Please do not make the postulation or assumption that I'm saying that there aren't men suffering from the things that I'm about to talk about, because they are, and there's a growing level of empirical data that may suggest that Black males are suffering at an equal rate of females. The difference is men don't report it as easily. And so the numbers are skewed because of that and a number of other reasons. So those are some things that we have to keep in mind while I'm talking about this. I don't want to ostracize or alienate Black men who have suffered, because the reason that I'm separating it is because the suffering and the manner in which we suffer and we cope are different. And so I'm going to deal with this separately. But we're talking about today, Marion and I, my wife, who herself is a survivor of both child molestation and rape as a minor. She's a survivor. She is a person who spends a lot of her time working with young girls and young women who have experienced what she's experienced. I met my wife counseling her. Um, and so my love for her is heavily interested in the strength and the passion she has to do what we do. We fit and we encourage and we push one another. And we're looking at what we're facing with this epidemic, and we haven't grown out of it. We haven't gotten to a point to where we are willing to address it on a level that provides a conduit or avenue for collective healing on any grand scale. There are some people who are definitely champions and survivors, but there are far too many who are being held down. And one of the issues is uh, the way mental health is stigmatized in the Black community, the lack of access to resources. And the lack of access to resources is definitely something that Mary and I are concerned about. We want to provide a conduit or a platform through which people who are suffering not only from childhood sexual abuse, childhood molestation, sexual violence, even in adulthood, not only that, definitely for that, because that's such a major issue, but mental health, period. And we want to be able to be in a situation to provide this at no cost, because there are so many who need it who can't afford it. And I've been made very aware of that, for some time, but over the last year, it's definitely been a thorn in my side. Those who are close to me, the Michael Jordans, the Michael Blanchards, the Will Williamsons, that while I have businesses and my businesses do well, a great deal of that goes into funding this. About 98% of what I do is funded by me. That creates limitations in things like this that we want to do. And so while it's never a popular thing to get on and talk about the fact that you need financial support to get things done in the community, it's just something that we've never, ever really, truly gravitated to on any grand level. There are certain people who have come by and did okay in raising funds and getting backing, but normally you have to some kind of way sensationalize your content and put some things out there and basically make money on the back end. And, I have, like I said, I have a channel and it does well, but we really need support. And I want to create support for this specific issue in two primary ways. I've started a fundraiser solely and specifically for a revenue that's going to be escrowed for the treatment of individuals. And we're going to do them in 6-month and 1-year blocks. So we've come up with a cost of what it would pretty much take on a cost level to treat someone for 6 months and treat someone for a year. And we're going to allocate funds and we're going to literally do a sort of scholarship type program where someone comes and if the money is there, they get that scholarship on a first come, first served basis. We're also going to be looking for Black business owners. And I'm specific about this being Black business owners because I want people who are coming to me who understand the importance of holistic health, especially mental health and physical health of our people. And I want them to understand that. And I want that to come because we've got to get in the mindset of supporting one another. I read a brother that I have so much respect for. I read a post this morning where he was saying he wished he was wealthy because there's so many of our people that are in lack and in need, and no one who has the ability seems to care. And that's normally the case. The people who have the heart don't have the funds. And, I know a bunch of people like that, people I work with, and that's like a common thread. They have the heart, they're out there, and they're doing what they can, This guy, I'm not going to call his name because he's a soldier and he has his boots on the ground. He knows who I'm talking to when I speak on him. Next time you're in Houston, bro, stop by. He probably doesn't have a problem with it, but, there are some things on his page that I don't necessarily want people who are not for us to see. This dude is real. Another person is Tiffany Banks. She's always giving of herself, always looking to reach out and touch somebody. My wife, just those kind of people that hearts just pouring out. And the resources compared to the demand, it's a lot lacking. So I'm here today to let you know that we are pushing a twofold endeavor. We want to raise funds, and on average, give you an idea of what it costs when you add a profit to it. My year package for someone to work with me for 52 weeks on a session per week at the Visionetics Institute, which is called the Platinum Package. You can go to the site and check it out. It's $10,500 for those, and most of my clients are on that package. But for that to happen, we're saying, okay, if you take the profit out of it and you just cover the cost of because see, if I'm working with someone on that scale, I'm not working with anyone else who pays. So there's a cost factor to that. And so we figure that in. And so we're figuring for a year to work with somebody in an in-depth way. I ain't talking about no one-off crisis counseling. We do that for free anyway. Someone calls, saying they're on a ledge, we're going to talk them off the ledge. If we don't have the resources that they need, if it's some kind of specialized issue that is outside of the spectrum of what I have an expertise in, I find the person and I make sure they get what they need. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who need to heal. They're functional in society, but they haven't healed. They're not living their best lives because they're still weighted down, carrying bags that go all the way back to their childhood. We're talking about, on a conservative estimate, 43 to 44% of Black women, on a liberal and studied production based on empirical evidence and statistics, as high as 60%. And now there are even some suggestions that it could be higher. That's on the female side. And even with the conservative reporting of Black males, we're talking about 1 in 8. And that is probably more like 1 in 4 or 1 in 3. That's how bad this epidemic is. That's how long it's been swept under the rug. That's how long that's been some form of silent condemnation. In other words, mothers being quiet, aunts being quiet, siblings and cousins being quiet while they know this is going on. When you're quiet and silent in the presence of wrong, you are condoning that wrong through your silence. And this is what we're dealing with, is the repercussions and the consequences of this type of behavior. We are going to have to deal with it. There's so much guilt. And with me doing this, it's like crazy. Some years ago, I started to discover it, and that's what got me into researching the statistics on how many of our women have been sexually abused at some point in their lives. And when it comes to childhood sexual abuse, you're talking about was, like I said, on the high end, 60%, on the low end, almost 45%. So that's significant. And then you start to look, and what I see now is the clients I work with, the vast majority of them are talking about what happened to them as a child. I'm talking about females. I'm talking about males too, but I'm definitely talking about females. And I'm talking about the trauma is just pouring out. Traumatic memory. Then you got complex trauma, where you're stacking traumatic events on top of our already existing trauma. So you got complex trauma, which is worse than PTSD. And we're walking around going to work every day with this. Now, it's a testimony to our resilience, but it's also a peek inside of our dysfunction. And if we want to be everything we keep saying we need to be to rise above where we're at right now, we're going to have to be whole in order to do that. And we're not. So I'm looking for business owners who want to be sponsors, and just sponsor, you know, if you can get each business to sponsor one person for a year, you know, that's somebody that can be contacted right now and say, we can get started. If you can get individuals, do whatever you can. But there's going to be two ways. There's going to be an ongoing fundraiser on Facebook. There's also going to be an opportunity for people to give on the site. I've got all the information embedded in the post description, and we're going to do the best we can to keep this thing going. But we want to grow it. We want to train people to be counselors, to be intervention specialists, to sit up and help people. We want to train them. We want to do this on a national scope with a national network so no one's left out. And the goal is to create access, because the system is not giving it. The system is not giving it. The system counts on our dysfunction. The system counts on us not being unified. The system counts on us not being willing to support one another. And what happens is we're the victims of benign neglect in so many different ways. And so we are going to have to be responsible for that. And while we're doing it on a certain level, we're not even putting a dent in it. I want to smash it. You know, it's not about me saying I did it. It's about getting it done. Anybody can put their name on it. I really don't care. I'm not worried about who that, because at the end of the day, the lives I change will be my legacy, not whose name is on whatever. Some things will have my name on it, some won't. I don't care. That's why nobody has ever had me come to them and say, you're sharing my stuff, or you're using my stuff, or you're using something that I create. I don't care. It's out there being used. It's all that matters to me. See, when you put it out like that, it's coming back anyway. I don't have to have the credit for it, because my energy is out there, and what I've produced will come back to me. What I've planted will come back to me. So that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on building a legacy right now. I can't be saw as a person that knew better and didn't do better, that knew how to do something and sit on my heels and didn't do it. And I've done it. My wife will tell you, I've done it to my detriment. And it's sometimes to the detriment of my family, which is something I have to stop. But I'm asking, contribute. If you got a business, or you know a business owner that can understand the gravity of what we're working with here, get them to contact me, talk about sponsorship. It's real simple. Sponsor a person for a year, and that's a person that's going to have a better chance of being more productive, more functional, and more impactful in the environment around them. This is how they say, I've heard this all my life, that a chain is only strong as its weakest link. Well, we got a lot of weak links. So it doesn't matter that you may be balling, or you may be doing your thing, you may be in your passion, and you may be in your career. When there's so many other weak links in the chain, when it comes to functioning as a unit, which is necessary in an environment where groups are running and holding the power, and your group has none, you got a few people that are doing their thing, but it's so many weak links that as soon as pressure is applied, the chain's gonna snap. We've got to shore up the weak links until we have something powerful. We can't sit up and keep using ourselves, which are simply anomalies, to sit up and talk about where we are as Black people. Where we are as Black people is where we are measured as a whole. In last place in every statistical category that matters. That's where we are. I don't care what type of house you live in. If you're associating yourself with Blacks, we're in last place. That's like in basketball. You know, you got some brothers out there that have been historically known as selfish. You know, they got a 20 and whatever record, you know, 20 and 62 record in the NBA. And, you know, they lose a game by 30 and they score 40. They talking about, I got mine. That's what we look like when we out here talking about what we got while our brothers and sisters are suffering. You know, I got mine. Well, until we have ours, we've failed. It doesn't matter where I live. It doesn't matter what I drive. It doesn't matter how many zeros in my bank account. It doesn't matter where I can take my wife or do with my wife until the vast majority can sit up and make the same claim. We've failed. And we've definitely failed in protecting our children from this type of situation. We failed to protect them from miseducation. And it's our responsibility to correct it. I'm challenging you. I'm challenging you to do something about it. And for those of you who are going to get this later on YouTube and other platforms, I'm calling on you too. It's time to step up. It's time to step up. On the back end of this, and then I'm done. If you are someone who has struggled with childhood sexual abuse, I don't have the email in there now, but I'm going to give it to you. But in the meantime, email CEO, which is my direct email. I'm probably going to regret this later, but email CEO at theodysseyproject21.top. CEO at theodysseyproject.top. And without giving anything that you're not comfortable with getting, let me know, and I'm going to get the actual email address. I think it's support at, no matter of fact, I can just look instead of that. Don't email me. Don't email me. I'm changing it. Don't email me. It's support at theodysseyproject.top. The Odyssey Project 21.dop. And I'm gonna put it in there. Support at theodysseyproject.top. And that'll get to the support team. And then they'll get it to the people who need to have it, including me, and we'll work from there. But we want people who are going through this to reach out. We're in the process of getting the funding. That's what we're working on. And as we get the funding, we will reach out. We are not in a position any longer to take on the cost without getting the funding. And that's the decision that we had to make. Me as the executive director and my wife also. So we are definitely going to do it. And obviously we're not going to do it all by ourselves. So we're asking also mental health professionals who are out there, if you have some time that you want to contribute, definitely let us know. And if the funding is actually right, we will even pay at a reduced cost what you charge. Obviously, we can't pay full price because it's not, it's not viable at this time. But we need professionals because we obviously can't do it on our own. And we're building a network of mental health providers who are willing to work with these type of situations. So we're asking that as well. I'm going to be consistently on this until we get it. Getting my wife in front of a video camera isn't easy. We got it done Sunday. We even got a commitment that we're going to do it every Sunday, but that was on YouTube. I'm going to do a little bit more to try to get her on here so you can kind of hear her voice, because her voice is unique. Her voice comes from experience. Her voice comes from being molested as a child, starting at age 5 by both a male and a female, being raped twice. And so she's a survivor. And, there's no way to describe the love I have for this woman, because she didn't fold. She didn't topple over. She sought the help. She fought to heal. And then when she got to a point where she had experienced enough healing to be an asset, she went back in and started helping people. And she's consistent. Man, I can't tell you how many times we're riding along on our way somewhere, and she's getting a call and she's on the phone counseling while we're on the way. And it's just a part of our routine. And it happens to me too. She has to sit up there and listen to me counsel. But that's the passion we have, is to help people. So we're really, truly reaching out, and we're asking for your support now. With that being said, I'm out of here. Thank you guys. I know this wasn't the usual, business mindset Thursday, but this is something that really needed to be addressed in our community. And I look forward to touching bases with you, working with you. And there are some guys out there. I'm not forgetting about you, man. I know what we go through. I know what I've gone through, and I know there's a lot worse because I've worked with you. I haven't forgotten about you. This isn't an alienation. This is just making a point of what we need, and you are more than welcome Um, yes, I've to a certain extent seen that there that Paul is catching a lot of flack. Paul Mooney is catching Sandra. I'm talking to you, is catching a lot of flack from that. I don't find it. I'm not saying I'm substantiating it or that that I have evidence that it's valid, but I don't find it hard to believe, understanding the culture back then and what I've heard through the grapevine about Paul Mooney himself. So no, yes, I've heard about it, and no, it doesn't surprise me. On that note, I'm going to get off of here, and it just goes to the things we're talking about and we're dealing with. So, with that being said, I'm going to get off of here. You guys, thanks for sharing your time with me, and we will talk soon.